Hi and welcome to Monday Live, and we're still on Teams bidding, and looking at some examples today that have been sent in or happened, and hopefully again next week. So if you've got more hands, do send them in. Thanks for so many coming in. We were looking at hands on Friday as well, Moisian hands. But next Friday we are moving on to minors. So we've got a new topic coming up on the Fridays. A number of people have been asking about minors, so we thought we'd move on to that. Quite interesting. Funnily enough, it's quite interesting with respect to teams bridge as well, as we've seen. We will see perhaps today on both hands, in fact. Lots going on. We are nearing the end of Alfie's house. He's been in it and had a meal in it last night, and he's got a slide coming down, so we'll put some pictures up for that for those of you who want to see. Don't forget, it's the last chance for the prize draw, so a quick little reminder there. The more you do, the more entries you get as members, and for non-members all you have to do is register. And you get a chance to win. These many prizes. Your holidays for in the UK. A whole weekend. Wow, for two. And and we've had that the last 3 years, actually, the last 2 years, and including this year, 3 years, and people have certainly enjoyed them. So hopefully that can carry on, as hopefully can we. So thanks for all of your support through all of that. What else is happening this week? Well, we've got the prize teams coming up on Wednesday, so that should be fun, and we're pretty much going as normal up until next Friday, and then there's our holidays, so we're still going strong next week, and then we have a sort of holiday combined with work. So we're doing a variety of things. We're going up to visit friends in Yorkshire. In fact, that includes Peter Ackle, so we'll be visiting him, and then we go up to Scotland for the pre-cruise. Now I've got the charity here. I think it's there. No, that's the wrong one. No, that's definitely the wrong one. I've got the wrong one. Let me just see where the charity one was. Let me see if it's on here. No. Okay, I'll get there. I think it may be on here. I know it's somewhere. No. There. Maybe this one. No. I'm sure I saw it earlier. Anyway. It was on. Oh no! It was on the preview slides. It was on the preview slides. So I got lost there. The reason why we haven't got the charity Stirling, the event in Stirling, is because it's sold out. So so that's brilliant news. So we'll have a nice crowd there, where I'm going to do a seminar, and that's just before I go on the cruise in Rosyth with the family. And so yeah, no, that we're looking forward to that. We'll be there'll be no lives for that short period of about 12 days, and then I think I'll be coming back and doing a Teams event on the Thursday of that week. But we'll keep you informed of everything. And just after the cruise, of course, we were promoting. This book here, this cruise here, which we were selling at they were selling at a very good and aggressive price, with some singles with no supplements. So do look at that. Okay, I see Suzanne's talking about her book. Suzanne has done a book, which has a foreword from Bernard Magee, so it must be a good book. Which talks about her experiences in bridge. Fun and interesting. So do look at that if you want to. She will give you the link on Amazon there. But yes, all sorts. Jim's making a comment there, probably that he hasn't really got a very good photo of himself, or some would say it's representative of himself. But my wife, who's a photographer, does feel that some of our team members might get better photo shots of themselves, but that's we'll leave that up to them. Okay, but anyway, so what are we talking about today? We have our 5-level decision. We have our bidding quiz at the end. We've got the 2 hands that we're going to look at. And we've also got, of course, our beginners section at the end. So lots of things to think about. So let's look at that 5-level decision first. Let's remind ourselves of that. Those of you who are on Friday were with me. So let's look at this one. The bidding starts like this. 1 club from north, 2 hearts. Okay, so you decide to do a weak jump overkill. You are non-vulnerable against vulnerable. Someone suggested they might have bid 3 hearts with it, and that's fine. You chose not to. Okay, so remember, you're non-vulnerable against vulnerable here, so you've got that opportunity to be more aggressive if you want to, but you choose 2 hearts. It's called you're playing weak jump overcalls. Goes 2 spades from south, 3 spades from your partner. Okay, and then it's your bid. So it goes 4 spades, sorry, from north. So let's go through that again. 1 club from north, you jump to 2 hearts, 2 spades from south, 3 spades from your partner, 4 spades. Okay, and so obviously we've got a decision to make. And so you've got to think about that decision. So we're at the 5 level, or might be at the 5 level. What do you think? Obviously, you've got to work out what your partner's got. What does the West bid mean? And then decide what you might do. And what we'll do is we will revisit this. Okay. And then decide what to do. Okay. All right, lovely. So let's come back. And then I need to move on to the thing. So just a quick notice on the events that we're doing. We've got one in August at Denham, and that's with Richard and Sue. So do look at that one. One in the summer there, and then we carry on really at Denham all the way through. But we've got a brand new event to launch, and I know some of the members got to see it on Friday and reacted to it. But this is brand new. Helen and I went to this hotel the weekend before last. Had a lovely time there. Really did, and really impressed. It's a gourmet event, so it's got lovely food, and they look after us. Nice small number. It's what we call a house party between hopefully 40 and 48 players. And it's just a lovely hotel. It's in the New Forest. Again, I'm afraid it's in the south, I'll admit that. But we are moving around and finding new places. I'm afraid the next one might be Nottingham. Okay, I know again that's not the very north. But we have looked at a Nottingham one there, and we may well be able to find something there. Different type, that would be just one of those normal ones, as it were, rather than a gourmet one here. But this one really seems very nice. I have to say, both Helen and I enjoyed ourselves there, including a massage and a sauna and everything. So, really nice. So I think you will enjoy that if you try it. Okay. So we are going to go to, I think what we'll do is I'll just quickly, it's only going to be a tiny bit of PowerPoint because I'm just saying that I've had a couple of examples, or I've had quite a few examples sent in. I've chosen 2 of them, and we're going to look at the idea of choosing which game and the idea of big scores, one of which some of you will recognise, but I want to analyse it a little bit closer. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So I'm going to go to this hand. I'm going to open all the hands, I think, so let me do that. So this was sent in by Sue May, so thank you, Sue. This is to playing teams, and that's the key. And so the idea is, how do you bid these kind of hands differently at teams and pairs? And the key, so we're looking at the East hand particularly. The key with the East hand here is that you're going to want to explore all avenues, knowing that if you, for example, ended up in 5 clubs, you might be happy to be there. Okay. I'm gonna show you what happened to the table. I have to say that playing teams, I would feel this hand is too strong to open 1 club. Too often you will finish in 1 club where you only really need a king in either spades or diamonds, so 3 points to feel that you want to be in a game. So imagine you gave your partner the king of diamonds and took away the king of hearts, so maybe gave him jack to 5 hearts and the king of diamonds. I think you'd want to be in 3 no trumps, as it were. So it's a little bit dangerous opening. I think you've got a reasonable, I mean, for me, I would open it 2 clubs, and then we'll see how it progresses. We'll look at how it went at the table, though. Let's have a look. Okay. As Alan says, it's a 2-loser hand, so it's slightly too powerful, I think, to open 1 club. But let's see if we do open it a club, see how it might go. So I think it'd go a club, a heart, okay, and then I like 2 spades, which is what happened at the table. Now, obviously, that's forcing. Okay, interesting. I think it's really important if you've got your 18 plus hands, or particularly 19 plus hands to do it. We had one in the teams last week where the North player didn't rebid 2 spades, and it left his partner out of the equation, as it were. They didn't know that a slam was a possibility. As it happens, it was a flat board in a slam going down, but that's another matter. So it goes 2 spades. Now clearly West is going to bid no trumps. 2 no trumps is enough. Okay. Now, the question that Sue had was, you know, I know playing pairs I would just bid 3 no trumps, but it looks like the safest contract to me is going to be 5 clubs. And the key on a hand like this, as long as you trust each other, in this auction, any bid that East makes should be forcing. And the beauty of that, so remember, 2 spades is a strong bid, a jump reverse. Over 2 no trumps, East surely has the chance to explore more, but below 3 no trumps. So I think playing pairs you can do this as well. So I'm not going to commit to 5 clubs, because 5 clubs might not make. Okay, so don't think that 5 clubs will always be the safest hand, safest contract. The point is that when you bid 3 clubs here, you are saying to your partner, look, partner, I think that 5 clubs might be the safest contract. Okay, but clearly looking at the West hand, West feels, look, all of my high cards are in hearts and diamonds. You've shown the clubs and spades. Okay, you know, let's settle for 3 no trumps. Does that make sense? Okay, and so you've got to trust each other. You've got to know that 3 clubs is forcing to game. But the fact that East has jumped to 2 spades, interestingly, someone suggesting that they were thinking that might show 5. Remember, if you've got 5 spades, you'll almost always start with them. If you, to show 5, you'd have to bid 2 spades, and then you would follow up with 3 spades now. Okay, and that would show 6 clubs and 5 spades. Because with 5-5, you should always start with spades. So if you bid your spades twice, you would be promising 5, but you'd also be promising 6. Okay. Brian suggesting 2 spades should be forcing to game. You can agree that. You can agree that. But in strict tackle, a jump rebid at the 3 level is unconditionally forcing to game. A jump rebid at the 2 level, it doesn't necessarily force game, but practically it is probably better. It's much easier to have conversations. This is a lovely conversation because I think East has beautifully said what he wants to say. Partner, I'm excited. Okay, now I should give you the proviso that I wouldn't have bid this way, and we'll see how I would have bid it. But I think the key is when West bids 3 no trumps again, I think that's enough. We don't then have to go higher. The worry I would have in this auction as East is that I've undersold my hand, because I've actually said I haven't got a 2-level opening. And my worry as East would be, I'd almost feel I want to invite a slam, and I'd be tempted to bid 4 no trumps almost. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so I'd feel, partner, I'm much stronger than you're going to believe. Okay, so for me, I would prefer a 2-club opening here. Okay, it's not always going to be easy, the auction with that, but I would open 2 clubs there. Okay, it goes 2 diamonds, and then 3 clubs, and then a natural 3 hearts, and then 3 spades. Now that is not an ideal auction, but because a lot of the time your partner won't be able to bid 3 no trumps. Okay, does that make sense? Because you've got ace queen of diamonds, and for example, if West had 3 little diamonds, he would feel a bit stuck over 3 spades. But I don't mind. If he bids 4 clubs, I should be able to bid 4 no trumps naturally, although it gets a bit hazy. Okay, but for me, now it would go 3 no trumps. And I think at this point, East has said everything he needs to say. East has said, I am very excited about my hand. Okay. And usually, if you rebid 3 clubs, that should be 6. 3 spades would be 4. So I think your partner knows what you've got. And if your partner has any kind of support for either of the suits, he should probably be getting more excited. I mean, what's difficult on a hand like this is clearly if the king of hearts was the king of spades. So if you had, there is clearly a slam is on. So I think you've got to start with a 2-level bid with the East hand. But the key about the hand is be happy. So for example, over 3 no trumps, you could try, playing teams, you can try for slam by bidding 4 clubs, as it were, a natural bid if necessary. I don't think you need to on this hand, but you could do. But the potential of the hand with just, as I think Alan said, with 2 losers is worth starting strong. Okay, and that's whether you play Benji or 3 week 2s or whatever system you play. I think you can afford. Remember, it's not just 21 points here, it's 21 points and a relatively solid 6-card club suit. You'd feel that a lot of the time, if you gave your partner a Yarborough, I think it's not unreasonable. Anybody who's wondering if a slam will make, remember your opponents are allowed to lead trumps. Okay, so it's always tempting to look at hands like this and think, oh, shouldn't we be in a slam? But remember, it's not unreasonable for your opponents to lead trumps, and then of course you have to lose a spade and lead another trump. Okay, and so the slam won't make. It's not even, is it? It's just about on a finesse, is it? You can't get to, well, you can get to dummy just about in diamonds, but I think you're going to need to get rid of your 4th spade as well. So, and you are fitting quite well. You'll also need the clubs to break, so you're going to need quite a few things nice to happen. But the point is, inquiring about slam makes sense. East has a super powerful hand there. Okay, let's look at this next one. This next one, I hope Leslie Lewis will forgive me for this one, but it's a good one to show off. So those of you who have looked, I'll just, someone wants to look at the bidding lead. On the lead, if you ended up in 3 no trumps, I think I would probably lead a diamond, Nadine. It doesn't work on the hand, but it's the weak suit. And so looking at the south hand, apologies, looking at the north hand, because North would be leading against 3 no trumps, I think it just makes sense to lead a diamond. Okay, so against 3 no trumps, North would lead a diamond, thinking, well, look, I've got no better place to bleed. And you're not giving a trick away. It's not, I mean, you could try a spade, but a spade from the jack doesn't look right. And a spade lead would set declarer up. Well, would probably set Declare up for 12 tricks, although South can take the ace of hearts. So on a spade lead to the king, South would need to take the ace of hearts to avoid Declare making 12 tricks. Okay, let's move back to this next one. So this one comes from the teams. I think it's instructive because it shows a very, very important aspect of bidding. And this aspect of bidding is what I would call bidding on a whim. So the idea is that North on this particular hand, those of you who saw the teams last week, took a flyer. Now, taking a flyer is allowed playing pairs, because if it goes wrong, you get one bottom. And on the next hand, you can get it back. Playing teams, it's a little bit more difficult. So let's look at it. It's non-vulnerable North-South. So I'll take control because there's no way the auction's going to be repeated by the computer. So it went one heart from South, pass, pass. Okay, which is just normal. And then of course it went round to East. East we opened with one spade, and then it went 2 diamonds. Okay. Now at the table that I was talking about, I think it went 3 spades. Now at our table, I prefer West's bid. West made a cubit to say, partner, I've got an amazing hand for your hand, if that makes sense. So what we'll do is we'll put that in. Let's say, I think it was a cubit of 2 hearts. Partner, I have a strong hand with spade support. North carried on passing. Now, if I'm honest, if I was going to try to find a sacrifice with the North hand, I'd be tempted, if you really wanted, to introduce 3 clubs now. Okay, you're non-vulnerable against vulnerable. You have a feeling your opponents are bidding to game. If you introduce 3 clubs now, if it turns out that your partner's got 2 clubs and a singleton spade, or even 3 clubs and a void spade, you may well find a fantastic sacrifice. Okay. However, at the table, East bid 4 spades because East has a wonderful hand. It went pass, pass. Now, playing pairs. So remember the reasoning that North has here is, look, I've got 7 clubs. My partner's opened the bidding. She must have some strength. On a lucky day, partner might have 2 little clubs with me. We're expecting South to be 5-5. If partner's got 2 clubs and a singleton spade here, then, do you know, I think I might manage to make 8 tricks. And if I do make 8 tricks, I will get a better score than allowing them to make game. Okay, now you can do that playing pairs, because if it turns out you give away 800, and as I'm going to mention 1100, it's still just a bottom. However, playing teams, 5 clubs is just going to get you a really bad score. Because what you've got to understand, so this is what happened at the table. It went 5 clubs and clearly it went very quick double, and then it got passed out. Now, the key here is that playing teams, if this is a good sacrifice, I mean, let's be honest, it's only ever going to be, it's the best surely it's going to do is go 3 off. Well, 3 off would be 500. Now, assuming they can make their game, you're only making a gain of 100 and maybe 20 or 150 points. It turns out that East-West can make 11 chicks. So you make a gain of 150. So you gain just 4 imps. Okay. I mean, it's a gain. The problem is, though, is when you go off. Now, what I love as opponents here is getting greedy. Okay. So it's important for East-West to be greedy. They don't just double, they double and aim for the biggest score they can. Now, it turned out that 5 clubs went 4 off for 800. Now it turns out that that's only a 4-imp swing the other way. The problem is that a lot of the time, if the defense is right, this should be 1100, and that would be a 10-imp swing. I don't think it doesn't take rocket science to see that the lead's going to be the king of spades here. They went slightly wrong at the table. I would feel that East does not want a heart ruff here. Okay, from my point of view, I think East is thinking, look, my ace, king, 10 of clubs are going to make. Now, to be honest, East is assuming that North has the queen, jack of clubs. And in which case, he will always make the ace, king, 10 of clubs. Does that make sense? So I think they can actually afford to take both spade tricks like that and then switch to a diamond. Okay. Remember, you might play the club first. I mean, you probably play the ace of clubs first, to be honest, because you want to get rid of the trumpet dummy. And you might switch to a diamond. Remember, West has shown a strong hand in this auction. I think De Clever's got to, I don't know what De Clever does. I think De Clever's got to duck it. The 10 would win. To be honest now, they can just keep playing spades. And De Clever, I'm afraid, is going to lose. As you can see, 2 club tricks and another heart trick, and that is, I mean, you might even play the queen of clubs here. Okay, and then play a spade. And there's nothing De Clever can do here, obviously. Okay, De Clever has to hope the heart finesse works, but it doesn't, as you can see, and that is that. So we can claim just 6 tricks, I'm afraid. And the important thing is this is 1100. So on what? Playing pairs, if you really want to do it, do it. Your partner won't be very happy, but it's only one board, and the next board you get that score back. Okay? Playing teams, this is just, don't get me wrong, it's not difficult for East to double, okay? I don't think you can claim, oh, they might not have doubled, because there are times when you do sacrifices, the opponents don't quite know what's going on, you know, and you'll get a, a good score. Here, as it happens, North got away with 800, but it could have been a lot worse, and then the key is I don't think it could have been a lot better. Okay, and I think that's the key. I don't think it could have been a lot better. I think the main issue I've got here with the North bidding is North could have bid 3 clubs here. So North has passed on the first round. So if you look at the auction I've put in the centre there, over 2 hearts by West. It was 3 spades was the bid, as it happens, by West. So she didn't have the chance to bid 3 clubs. But she could have bid 4 clubs there. And now, yes, that could be doubled and they could get it 800, but it's less likely to be doubled 4 clubs. I think East is just going to go on to game. And now, if it is right, so remember, South could hold 3 clubs and avoid in spades. Well, now if it's right, South can bid 5 clubs. But clearly, if North bids 4 clubs in this auction, if it had been 3 spades, and East bids 4 spades, South is going to say pass very quickly. Can you see that? Okay, so if you really want to get involved with the North hand, you can, but don't wait until the very end and do a unilateral decision. Okay, I'm going to be honest, there is many a time that I have played in a pairs game and I felt, I'm going to take a gamble here. Now, some of you are going to claim that there's many a time when I play in the teams game on Wednesdays and I take a gamble. But I hope that most of the gambles I take, playing teams are reasoned gambles, okay? Whereas pairs, there's definitely times that I have played and I just think, I'm going to go for it here. I'm just going to, sometimes I'll double the opponents in a game thinking, I think this is going to go off. And if it goes wrong and they make it, or they make with an over trick, and I've certainly had that before, you get a bottom. But the key is, that is a bottom that on the next board I might give away 50 or just stop an over trick and get the score back. So one over trick that I save on the next trick on the next hand, so it will completely transform those two hands. One top and one bottom. Whereas playing teams, if you go for 1100 on that board, you've lost 10 imps. You save a trick on the next board, you've gained 1 imp. So it's not so easy. You can't always get a top on a board in teams. If it's a flat game where they make, I don't know, 10 tricks or 9 tricks, all you can gain on the board is 1 imp, if that makes sense. So, you know, whereas playing pairs, there's always that opportunity where you can get a top on a board rather than a bottom. Okay, so understanding that element of teams is really important. Where, you know, a big score, well, I think anybody who's played teams will understand that this idea of going back to your teammates and explaining to them. and you know, I think everybody understands that, oh, I want to go for it kind of thing, but usually it's best to do it as a partnership. So if you were able to show your clubs later on in the hand, not at the start, because you've got to show no points, then you can leave it up to your partner to decide on the thing. Okay, I think what we'll do is go back to our decision. So let's have a look at this one again. So again, we chose 2 hearts. We'll look at that again later because the vulnerability is non-vulnerable against vulnerable. The crucial element of this hand is, what does your partner's 3-spade bid mean? Okay, what does your partner's 3-spade bid mean? And I have a very simple meaning of 3 spades in this auction. You know what I usually call it, and it's the same. Remember, it's almost always in an auction. If your partner says 3 spades, it says, I am strong and excited. Thank you, Suzanne. Okay, I am strong and I am excited. And what that means is, do not make any rash decisions before I have had the opportunity to say something. Okay, now, the key being that your partner will have the equivalent of an opening hand. He's trying to suggest to you that he does not want you to assume that a game is making their way. So absolutely, it is saying, partner, I will do something. So in many ways, this is a forcing pass situation. But the point is that it's less than that. You really shouldn't be bidding 5 hearts without permission from your partner. Okay, I mean, let's open up the hand so you can see. So there's your partner's hand. And your partner has a gorgeous hand. But the problem is if he bids 4 hearts here instead of 3 spades, it's likely to go 4 spades, and East is going to be thinking, well, I'm going to bid 5 hearts because I know it's a good sacrifice. And East is quite right. It will be a good sacrifice if 4 spades is making. But what West is saying with his 3 spade bid is, I'm strong, I'm excited, I know we can make 4 hearts, but I'm not looking to sacrifice, I'm looking to make. So when they outbid us, don't go flying into a game contract. So these are tricky, but West wants to make the decision here. Now, whether West chooses to double, I think he probably will. But 4 spades doubled is worth 200 points, thank you very much. 5 hearts is going 1 off. Okay, now playing teams is not the end of the world. It's a 250 swing, or maybe 200, 300 swing if they double you in 5 hearts. Playing pairs, it's the difference between the top and the bottom score. Okay, it really is. And so 3 spades is saying, partner, please do this. Yep, David suggesting North might have opened a diamond. I agree. I would have opened a diamond with it. This is what happened at the Q+. And bear in mind that a club and a diamond are in many ways much of a muchness as an opening bid, so you can choose, but I tend to prefer to stick to the rules here so that partner can sometimes identify. So a diamond is perhaps would have been my style. Okay, that might have changed West's mind also. So it goes, and as I say, the defence is relatively straightforward. You can see that West will make the ace and king of diamonds, the ace of hearts, and a trump trick, and that's the crucial thing on the hand, the queen jack small of spades. Okay, the Queen Jack small of spades and the West hand are useless in a heart contract, aren't they? But the crucial thing is that they are a trick against 4 spades. Okay. Interestingly, when the auction goes a club 3 hearts, so because Brian not unreasonably suggesting a 3 heart bid possibly on the East hand because of the vulnerability, he wants to make the most of his hand. Gets a bit tricky then, but the point that Brian makes is if you choose to make a 3 heart preempt over 1 club, you never bid again. Okay, so if you did bid 3 hearts in it and South chose 3 spades, it would go 4 hearts, 4 spades, but East does not bid again. Okay, and that's crucial. If you, shall we say, overbid your hand, so clearly 2 hearts is a neat descriptive bid of your hand showing a 6-card suit and a weak hand. 3 hearts suggests 7, doesn't have to be at this vulnerability, you can stretch. But clearly you wouldn't want to be bidding again, and that's the crucial element. Okay, so the important thing to remember in this kind of auction when we get to the 5 level is if your partner's bid the opponent's suit, he is saying we are the strong hands partner. If you bid to the 5 level, I want you to expect to be making the contract. Does that make sense? Now clearly East would not, most people who would choose for 5 heart bid here would be bidding it because they think it's a good sacrifice, not because they're expecting to make it. And that's the crucial thing. If West had bid simply 3 hearts in this auction, or even a jump to 4 hearts, I have sympathy with the 5 heart bid. The idea being that partner's not said he's super strong, I have no defensive trick. So East is not expecting to make 1 defensive trick. So if partner hasn't got strength, well then why not sacrifice? So that makes sense. Remember, you only have to make 8 tricks in 5 hearts to make a profit if they make a game. 3 spades says partner, I do not expect them to make a game. Don't forget, as Sue's suggesting, if they've got a void in hearts, they might make a game. But bear in mind, you know, that's less likely. They might have even made a Q bid as well. So for example, if North had a void in hearts, he might have bid 4 hearts to suggest greater things. So you'll sometimes get an idea of that. Also, don't forget there are other chances. So for example, there'll be times that East has a singleton diamond or can get a diamond ruff. So it might go ace, king of diamonds, diamond ruff. So you might be taking 4 spades 2 off, let alone 1 off. So yes, 4 spades might make on some layouts, but it might also go 2 off on other ones. So I think your average result certainly will be 1 off. And you know, you certainly don't want to be sacrificing. Okay, so that is that one. What do we finish on? Well, we usually have the bidding quiz. Let me just remind you of the holiday of the week. So Lynn is off to Tunisia in November. Okay, so so enjoy that, Lynn, and hopefully lots of you are going to join her. They usually have lovely weather there in November. So that's the 10th to the 24th. So that's your other option there. And the offer of the week, if I remember, is you can join us for the first part of Miners. So that's non-members. Remember, the members get it included. Non-members can join us at half price. I think that's £3.50, which at half price you can join us for the start of a new topic. So there you go. So anyway, let's finish with that bidding quiz and then I will go on to the novices. So we're sticking with a theme. Some of these are rather interesting. So what do you think of this one? 1 no trump, pass, 2 diamonds, double by you. Are you happy with that? I think that's reasonable. Okay, so it's gone 1 no trump pass. South has made a transfer to hearts, but by bidding 2 diamonds, you've doubled to suggest, look, partner, you know, I've got something and I'd love a diamond lead, and I think that's a good bid. I like it. 2 hearts from North, double from your partner, pass. Okay, so a bit of bidding, and it's your choice of bid, and obviously you can get that answer on the bidding on the website as a member or a non-member. So have a go at that one. I think, again, an interesting one. These do come up, or they can come up, they just won't come up regularly. But hopefully they're within your range. Okay, so thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed that. Got the prize winners teams. On Wednesday, and we've got the new topic starting on the Fridays, of course, on Friday. And we'll see you again on Monday if you fancy that. Just a quick one on that one, on the bidding quiz. Does it usually promise a 5-card suit? It promises 4 or more. Sometimes people would do it with ace, king, queen of diamonds, just 3. But you prefer to have a balance between length and strength. Because you have the ace, king of diamonds, you want a diamond lead. You perhaps would prefer to have 5, but I think you've got to bear in mind that sometimes you'll have 4. Okay. All right, so let's move on to our ending, which is, of course, our beginners. So let's go to that. Thanks very much and see you again soon. So we're still on preemptive bidding. And we're going to stick with the opening bids, and then of course next week I will move on to responding to it. So 3-level openings. 3-level openings, we have said that they are called preemptive bids. They're based around a weak hand with long suits. And the way we defined that was 5 to 9 high card points in a 7-card suit. We took it one more step though. We decided that you should have a reasonably strong suit. Okay, so that means you should have at least 2 of the top 4, if that's okay. You know, and even then you might feel you're a little bit borderline, and we're going to come across that in a moment, okay? But we'd like to have at least an element of quality to the suit. So what I mean by that is not jack high. Okay, so this was the example we gave, the classic 3-diamond opener. So you fit in the high card points, and you've got a lovely, strong 7-card suit. Okay. What we mentioned at the end of last week was vulnerability. Understanding vulnerability. What does it mean? Well, you don't have to worry about how you're told what vulnerability you are. It is arbitrary in many ways, although there are some games where you make your way through it, like Chicago, or Rubber Bridge, where you become vulnerable if you have made a game. When you play with a board in front of you, that board depicts the vulnerability. Or if you look at Q+, when I use that, you will see triangles that are red for vulnerable and white for non-vulnerable. On the board, the aggressive colour, red or orange, will be vulnerable. Green or white is non-vulnerable. Okay, so what we need to know about it when we're thinking about bidding more aggressively is what it costs to go down. Okay, so let's just have a look. So undertricks are 50 when you're non-vulnerable. They're twice as much when you're vulnerable. Okay, so they're 50 when you're non-vulnerable. They are 100 when you're vulnerable. So that's the first part. The second part comes when we end up looking at doubled undertricks. Because remember, if you bid on very few points, you may find yourself doubled at times. So we do have to plan for that. Well, the first trick is pretty much as you'd expect it to be, doubled. So 100 for non-vulnerable, 200 for vulnerable. Subsequent tricks slightly change, but you are going to see the cost of this. Okay, so the next under tricks that you go down, now let's hope you don't go too much further down than this, are 200 if you're non-vulnerable, 300 if you're vulnerable. So it does add up, and the idea is, particularly if you are vulnerable, it gets expensive. So we're going to be a bit bolder with our bidding when we are non-vulnerable. When you are vulnerable, we'll be a little bit more careful. We're still going to make these preemptive bids, but if you ever feel you're borderline, you might choose not to do it. And we will see in a moment. I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. You don't need to know all of this. What you really probably need to know, in your mind, you should be thinking, when I'm vulnerable, it costs twice as much. Doesn't quite end up as that, as you can see towards the end, but for the most part, when you're vulnerable, it costs twice as much, and then when you get doubled, it costs twice as much again. Okay, so therefore, we just have to be a little bit more careful. Okay, so actually, what we discovered, and we talked about this when we talked about overcalls, when we're non-vulnerable, we're going to bid more. So I do want you now, as a beginner and novice, to look at the board. So when you're playing a board, I want you to make sure you understand the vulnerability. Are you green or white, or are you red or orange? Okay, and look at both sides and see that, because it's going to be important for the scoring. Okay, so you're happy to go down if it doesn't cost so much. I think we're all happy to do that, aren't we? So let's look at this hand. This is borderline, isn't it? Should we open it 3 diamonds? Well, it fits in, okay, it fits in to the 5 to 9, and it just about fits into the quality of the suit. But when you're borderline, what you might say to yourself is, if I'm non-vulnerable, I'll go for it. But if I'm vulnerable, I might not. So I think this is an okay 3 diamond bid if you're non-vulnerable. If you're vulnerable, you might feel, cost twice as much, maybe I won't bid. Okay, so that is thinking about vulnerability. Let me put that in the context of a full hand. So here's the hand here. And what I'm going to do is try to get across to you what it means and why I say that 3 diamonds we might get away with if we're non-vulnerable. So let's imagine we're non-vulnerable here. 3 diamonds on this hand. Please don't try and play it through yourself, but I'm going to explain to you, because annoyingly North has some nice diamonds. I don't know if you can see that up there. North's going to make 2 diamond tricks, he's going to make 3 spade tricks with his partner, and they're going to make the ace of clubs. So I'm afraid to say you'll go 2 off in 3 diamonds. However, I don't think it's going to be easy for your opponents to double it. So I think bottom left, 3 diamonds minus 2 will cost you 100 points. Now that's actually not going to be the end of the world, because let's be honest, they've got 21 points between them, you've only got 19, and so of course if we were playing mini bridge, if you can go back that far, when you were simply announcing your points, it would be North-South playing the contract. And if North-South were playing contract, South would be the declarer, he's got 11 points, partner's got 10, so remember it's the side with the most, although East has the most points, East-West don't have as many as North-South. South would play the contract, he'd look at them, and he'd probably, given he's got cards in every suit, I think he'd probably nominate no trumps. I mean, he has got nice clubs, but I think no trumps is going to score more. So I think he'd choose a part score in no trumps, and I think he would make that part score. In fact, if you were bidding, it'd probably end up in 2 no trumps. Now, 2 no trumps is worth 120 to North-South. So it's subtle, isn't it? 3 diamonds has gone 2 off, we would have lost 100. But if we didn't bid 3 diamonds and let them play in their contract, I think they would make more. However, imagine you were vulnerable. 3 diamonds minus 2 if you're vulnerable would cost you 200. And that is the difference. Non-vulnerable, going off actually can be reasonable. You know, it doesn't cost you that much, and very, very often you will make a gain. Might be just a small gain, but it will be a gain on the hand. So try and think about that. Vulnerability. Okay, if you're vulnerable, you can just be a bit more careful if you can. Whereas non-vulnerable, go for it. And who knows, you'll probably have some fun. Okay. Next week, as I mentioned, we are going to have to look at responding to these bids, because of course it's all well and good bidding them, but what on earth do you bid in response? Okay, and as we're going to see, a lot of the time your partner will pass. Okay, but understanding what your partner means, remember we play as a partnership. So the fact that you open 3 clubs on a hand that has 5 to 9 points and 7 clubs, it's important that your partner knows that too. And actually, it's quite a descriptive bid. So hopefully our partner will be able to make the right decision. But we'll try and put some sort of construct on what we do in response. I hope you enjoyed that, and see you again soon.